Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another instructional video, tutorial, informative video, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, this video is entitled, Why Would You Want a Blank Gun? And this is yet another question that people ask over and over again, so why not make a video about it? I've talked about it a little bit in a few videos. I've mentioned some reasons why you may want a blank gun, but I haven't addressed the subject in a specific video to date. So first of all, what is a blank gun? Now, the best way to describe a blank gun is to imagine it as if it were a real gun in just about every way except for one. There are no dangerous bullets flying out of the front of it. That's right, a blank gun is just like a real gun. It uses brass or metal shells, it has a primer, uses gunpowder, but for whatever reason, some rocket scientist forgot to put a bullet at the end of the blank shell. So here we have some shells. I'll just pull a couple up here for you to see. And you can see here, instead of a bullet, they've actually, these have been shot out. Got some geese flying over here. You hear those geese? This is what I got to deal with around here. Anyways, there's basically these slits. These have been fired. So there's these plastic little bits, and inside of that plastic would be the gunpowder. When you fire it, it just sort of opens up and allows all the discharge and everything to come out, right? So here we have a couple different shells, different sizes. I believe we have a 9mm and an 8mm. And here we have, this is just a 22, something I had lying around, but here's a 22 long rifle. You see you've got a bullet at the end. Instead of that plastic case part, you have a bullet. And this bullet flies out of the barrel. And I'm trying to compete with these geese in my bloody backyard. Anyways, we will continue. Maybe I should fire off one of these blanks and get rid of these geese. Hey, there's a reason to have a blank gun. Alright, so why would you want a blank gun? Now we'll kind of show you around a few of these guns. I might as well show you some right now, just to show you, because you know what, you've got to have some visuals in these videos. Right here is mine. Now this is a Replica Eagle. You can't really get these anymore in Canada so much. I can't remember. This is a pretty cool gun. Even in the US, I believe they're hard to find. They came into Canada for a little bit. We had them for like a few months, and then they were gone. But that's pretty cool. It's like a small Desert Eagle. Really cool. Another Replica gun I have, since we're on the Replica subject, is this Baron here. This one in chrome, 9mm PAK blanks, right? This one has a decocker and everything. Very cool. All right, a nice gun, like a little sort of, I guess it would be a SIG P226 or 228, something like that. So periodically I'm just going to show you around a few of these guns. Why not? Let's get back into the topic here. Why would you want a blank gun? Isn't the entire purpose of a gun to shoot something? So why on earth would you want to buy a gun that doesn't shoot anything at all? Now what purpose would it serve? Even Nerf guns, water guns, potato guns all shoot something. One way to look at blank guns is to imagine as if it was a cap gun, but for grown-ups. Similar to how kids like to shoot their cap guns because they go bang and sparks and stuff fly out of the barrels, blank guns did the same thing, but on a much grander scale. And in most cases, they look and sound a lot more like a real gun than a cap gun does. Even this little guy here, this is a Little Joe, Rom Little Joe. Very cool little gun. I showed you my belt buckle video. Little 22 caliber acorns, 6mm Flowbert. Very neat little gun, but it is a lot louder than a cap gun. Not as loud as the 9 or 8mm, but it's still pretty loud. And you could actually, you know, if you fired that into your skin, it would probably do some damage. So you always got to be careful with these blank guns. They can damage you. Even though they don't shoot projectiles, there's a lot of force coming out of the barrels. Check out my video on Are Blank Guns Dangerous? You'll find out what I'm talking about if you watch that video. So blank guns don't actually do the main function of a gun, that is to shoot a bullet. But they do look and sound the part of a gun. How could this be of practical use to anyone? So what's the use? Why would you want a blank gun? It doesn't shoot anything. Well, first of all, signaling devices. Blank guns have been used as signaling devices for a long time. Have you ever heard of a starter pistol or a flare gun? Blank guns have been historically used to signal the start of races. Running races, vehicle races, all kinds of beginnings of races. Many blank guns also have the ability to shoot flares by adding a flare adapter to them, so a person can shoot a flare into the air to signal distress if they are lost or hurt. So let's take a look at a couple flares. We have this flare here that you'd put on the gun. Screws into the barrel, lots of them do it. And you put a flare in there, you shoot it into the air. Pretty cool. Right? We also have this guy here. Goes onto the ROM RG88. Screws into the barrel. And allows you to shoot a flare into the air. Now this gun here is available in our Canada Replica Airguns store most of the time when we have them in stock. Nice gun. Little, I guess you'd say it's almost PPK or Makarov-ish looking. Similar, you know, nice little gun. 9mm, very nice. Another reason for owning a blank gun is gun handling and training. Since many blank guns look, operate, and feel almost exactly like real guns, blank guns are a great place to start out when training a person on proper gun handling and operation. If they make a mistake while using a blank gun, the consequences are far less severe than with a real gun. Now, there's also much less kick from a blank gun, so shooting a blank gun is less scary or intimidating for that new shooter. Now, because blanks don't have the bullets in the front of them, they're not really pushing against anything. So people ask about recoil. They say, do blank guns have recoil? Well, they do have pretty heavy slide springs. They generally have pretty heavy slides. Like, obviously, let's take a look at something different. This gun here has a very heavy slide. This gun weighs almost 3 pounds, I'd say. Listen to that, right? This thing has a heavy spring, heavy slide. When that slide moves back and forth, you feel it, right? But it's not the push back that you feel. It almost does this. When the gun shoots, it drops in the front, and as the slide hits the back, it then sort of snaps back this way. But it's not the push like this that you get from a real bullet. And the reason for that is because imagine this. I try to explain this sometimes. Now my dogs are howling back there. What am I going to do? Anyways, I got to continue. So imagine this. If you were to push your arms out away from your chest into the air as hard as possible, you would kind of rock a little bit back and forth, but you really wouldn't go anywhere to speak of. Even though you're pushing with all your might, as much force as possible, you're not pushing against anything. If you were to take that same motion, but you're standing up against a wall and push with all your might, your body's going to fly backwards, right? You're going to have basically a backwards effect. You're going to be pushing against yourself or against the wall, pushing yourself backwards. Same thing goes for a bullet. So if you have a heavy grain bullet inside of a round like this, and it had a heavy grain bullet, you'd be pushing against something and causing the gun to go backwards. With a blank gun, you're really not pushing against much other than air, so there is obviously going to be some push, but not nearly as much as if you're pushing against a heavy grain bullet. And the same is true with real bullets. If you have light grain bullets, even if you have the same amount of gunpowder, if you're shooting a heavier round with the same amount of gunpowder, you're going to feel the kick more with a heavier grain bullet. Okay, it's just the way it is. Let's talk a little bit about dog training. Dogs used for police, military, and hunting are required to stay calm around loud noises like gunshots. They also need to get used to the presence of guns and even how to attack the gun hand of a person who could be a potential threat. Again, using blank guns in this training situation is a much better option than using a real gun for obvious reasons. Do you want to shoot your dog or shoot a live round into the air in possibly an area where it's not a good idea? Right? Blank guns are definitely better for this kind of situation. Alright, movies, videos, TVs, and stage. Introducing live ammunition on a movie set would be absolutely ridiculous. There's no need to shoot a bullet in this type of situation. Blank guns make perfect stage props since they again look the part, sound the part, all of that without the dangerous bullets flying all over the place. Now you could use an actual dedicated blank gun for this purpose, and a lot of times on movie sets the gun wrangler will actually have a real gun but use blank ammunition in it. And getting back to that, blank guns only shoot blanks. They are not designed to shoot live rounds. They will not chamber live rounds. They usually have restrictions in the barrel that don't allow for anything to actually come out of the barrel except for the fire and discharge. Now many guns on movie sets are actually real guns, but in some cases they've been slightly modified to shoot blanks, or they're just plain and simple real guns that are using blank ammunition. So in those cases you'll need a gun wrangler, someone who's authorized to manage those guns, keep them safe, keep the actors safe, keep everybody safe in those situations. For the common person, a blank gun's probably going to be a better option because again, there's no live ammunition. There's no possibility of shooting live ammunition with them. Now what am I talking about? These barrel restrictions. Hopefully you can see it here. You see how you've got that little guy in the barrel there? It's not going to allow any bullets to come out. It doesn't plug the entire barrel, but it does, again, stop bullets from coming out if someone were so silly to try to do that. Now, these blank guns are not made to the same standards. All the metals are not as strong as a real gun. They're not using weapons grade. Now there is a restriction in here, you just can't see it as well, but this barrel is restricted. Let's see if I can show you. Sometimes they're just further down, you can see it in there, right? So they're all like this. This is a Zeraki M906, really cool little gun. Can't remember, there we go, very neat. Awesome little gun. One of the only Zerakis I can have anymore because the other ones got prohibited. Now this is a little bit different. This gun here, I'm going to show you how this one works. It's got this little magazine, but it still shoots out the front. This would use those 22 acorns again. Little 22 acorns, kind of neat. But you know, for certain types of things, this would be all a person needs. All the flame comes out the front, it makes a noise. That's all you need in some situations. Alright, let's talk about collectors. Another reason why a person may want to purchase a blank gun instead of a real gun. Many collectors want to own guns, but for reasons like gun restrictions in their area, they may not be able to own a real gun or certain types of real guns. Blank guns can offer a person with heavy gun restrictions in their area the ability to own similar blank gun versions. Perhaps they can own real guns, but just simply don't want to go through the licensing and registration hassle of owning a real gun. Blank guns can generally be purchased for far less money than a real gun, which is appealing to collectors who in many cases may not even be shooting them. Right, so some of these guns are hard to get in certain areas. A PPK like this, or a PPK looking gun like this, is not going to be so easy to get here in Canada. It's too short, it's prohibited, it's a prohibited weapon unless I was to buy one that had an elongated barrel that was over 4¼ inches, or roughly about that size, then I wouldn't be able to own this gun. Because as you know, if the barrel were to stick out that far, I wouldn't be able to conceal it in any way, shape, or form. Apparently that's the reason why you wouldn't want too short of barreled guns, because they're too easy to conceal. The funny thing is I've seen videos of guys concealing guns like this to the point where police didn't even find them and they jailed them with a gun like this in their pants. So I don't know, just the way it is. Alright, another reason, kind of an obscure one, but it's a reason nonetheless. Celebration. In places like Turkey, people celebrate holidays and events by shooting blank guns into the air. Now they used to shoot real guns, but people were getting injured or even killed by the falling bullets. Because of this, blank gun production became an industry in places like Turkey, as blank gun manufacturers like Ekel and Zeraki, also known as Atak Arms, are Turkish companies. So the Zeraki gun here, made in Turkey, very nice high quality gun. I've got the Ekel Dickel, made in Turkey, right? I've got the Ekel Jackal, made in Turkey. Another nice gun. One other gun I haven't shown you, kind of cool, in here is the Ekelasi. And this is, right, neat little gun, not so little. Basically it's a Jackal inside of this plastic housing, full auto capability. Again, here in Canada we're not allowed full auto anything really, but we can have full auto BB guns, or sorry, well, we can have full auto BB guns. We can also have full auto blank guns. So if you want that realistic full auto, shells flying out all over the place, gunfire going off everywhere, this is about the only way you're going to do it here in Canada. I haven't shown you this guy, I might as well show you. We got revolvers, right? All kinds of revolvers. Here's an old school single action army type gun, right? Neat blank gun. I've reviewed almost all these blank guns, so check them out. Haven't showed you the revolvers too much. Here's an RG99. Nice. Basically it shoots the 380 blanks, the crimped blanks. Nice ROM pistol. Another 380 shooter, a little bit smaller, a little more compact. Like a snub nose revolver. Nice gun. Awesome. I think I've shown you most of this stuff on the table. Pretty much. Yeah, I think so. One other little ROM gun. One of these 22 caliber crimped ones. Might as well bring that in too. Focus for us. There it is. Alright, so now that you know some of the reasons why a person would want to own a blank gun, I own blank guns, and I also have real guns too. And again, one of the reasons is because there are many blank guns I own that I cannot own in their real steel versions because of Canadian gun restrictions, like being full auto, being too small, whatever prohibited. So obtaining a similar version in a blank gun allows me to own these types of models. Now, if a blank gun is not for you, then by all means get a real gun, or even get both, whatever. But please understand that there is a place for blank guns, and in those environments, a blank gun is actually a better choice than a real gun. And I want to say that again. In some situations, or many situations, a blank gun is a better choice than a real gun. Alright, thanks for watching another Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Also come on down to replicaairguns.com where I have articles, post reviews with photos and things. Lots of stuff on blank guns there for sure. Lots of reviews and articles. We also have our Canada and US online Replica Airgun stores where we sell air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, blank guns, knives, and other accessories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.